Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our course, Project Stakeholder Management. Today, in lecture number 11, we are moving on to a different topic, and that is the principal interest drivers of project stakeholder management and engagement. I will be covering this new topic in this lecture and in the subsequent lecture number 12. So we are basically continuing with our sort of insights into project stakeholder management and engagement. Now, the principal interest drivers, this is something which I have come up with through my own research into the subject. When I say principal interest drivers, what I really mean is what are those factors, you could say, which are causing a big increase in interest in the subject of project stakeholder management and engagement, both among academics as well as, very importantly, among practitioners, those who are actually doing project stakeholder management in the field. Now, through my research, I have come up with what I consider to be 9 principal interest drivers, or 9 principal factors which have contributed to this increase in importance of project stakeholder management and engagement. Now, these 9 drivers are given over here in these bubbles which are around this circle. You know, you can see at the top here one interest driver, stakeholder theory, the development of stakeholder theory in the last 30 or so years. A second driver, awareness. A third driver, the environmental complexity in which projects and programs are being undertaken, the corporations, the commercial aspect, the society, as well as the environment, law and public participation, DFIs and DIAs, that is development financing institutions and development implementing agencies, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, the media, and information and communication technology. Now, these are the 9 principal drivers, and as you can see, I have sort of overlapped them, and that is to show you that these drivers are not to be seen solely in isolation, but they do, to some extent, in some cases more than the others, overlap with each other. So there are these overlapping fields also. And in my opinion, these are the 9 drivers which have been instrumental in generating interest among academics and practitioners, project stakeholder management and engagement. What we are going to do now in this lecture and in the next lecture is we are going to look at each of these 9 drivers. Of course, each of them is a big subject area in itself, so it'll be very difficult to cover them in just 1 or 2 lectures. But what I want to do is I want to give you an overview, so you have some idea. You have some little insight into what these drivers are and why they are important for project stakeholder management and engagement. Now, let us move on first to stakeholder theory, the driver stakeholder theory. Now, stakeholder theory, it has really evolved extensively since the mid-1980s. And what stakeholder theory really means, or what it really indicates, is that you have organizations, and organizations, they have got their stakeholders. Now, when stakeholder theory was developed as a subject in the mid-1980s, around 1984, what happened was that it was seen in the context of a corporation. It was not seen specifically in the context of a project or a program. So let's just see over here. All right. So stakeholder theory has evolved in the context of a commercial organization, and then it has developed therefrom. This is not to say that stakeholders were not thought about before the mid-1980s. Actually, they had been thought about for quite a long time. Actually, even for centuries, if you think about it. But as a theory, it has really evolved only since the mid-1980s. And many of the article contributions contained in leading management and affiliated journals, such as the Journal of Business Ethics, they discuss this. You remember in one of the preceding lectures I pointed out how important ethics is as a topic in stakeholder management and engagement? Well, there is a whole Journal of Business Ethics, and you have lots and lots of research articles specifically on the subject of stakeholders. And if you want to look up this journal through the digital library, perhaps. Of course, many other journals do. They look at stakeholders. Even now, stakeholder theory tends to focus by and large in the corporate context on commercial organizations, but all its principles are highly relevant for managing and engaging stakeholders on all projects. So just as you see stakeholders in the corporate context, you have the suppliers, you have the customers, you have the vendors, you have the shareholders, you have the managers, you have the employees and some government agencies, etc., etc., etc. All those stakeholders who are relevant for corporations. Well, in the same way, you also have many similar stakeholders, even identical ones to a large extent, who are also relevant for projects. Now, stakeholder theory, as it has developed, can really be broken down into three specific sub-areas. That is the descriptive stakeholder theory, that is the instrumental stakeholder theory, and that is the normative stakeholder theory. Now, descriptive, from describe, as the word already indicates to you, the descriptive dimension of stakeholder theory is basically concerned with identifying and analyzing an organization's or projects or programs set of stakeholders. The stakeholder community of that particular organization, whether it's a commercial organization, whether it's even a public sector organization or a not-for-profit organization, or a project or a program. That is what the descriptive stakeholder theory does. It looks at the stakeholders, who they are, identifies them, examines and investigates them. Of course, this presupposes the existence of a definition or understanding of who the stakeholders are as the basis for the identification exercise. You remember in one of the early lectures I pointed out that there are different definitions of stakeholders. You know, there's some definitions which view stakeholders in a very narrow context, and there are other definitions which view stakeholders in a very broad context, even including animals and plants and stakeholders who may be far, far off, even though they're not directly affected by a project. Well, before you identify your stakeholders, you have to have an idea what sort of framework, sort of stakeholder framework is there, which you can use for your identification. So this is the descriptive dimension of stakeholder theory. Now, the instrumental dimension of stakeholder theory, instrumental from instrument, basically states that managers must deal with their stakeholders because failing to do so can result in negative impacts for their organizations or, by extension, for their projects. So in other words, stakeholder management and engagement is considered an instrument whose dividends are higher project efficiency and less risk of project failure. In other words, the stakeholders are seen in the context of how they can affect your project, and what you use is stakeholder management and engagement as an instrument in order to manage those and engage those stakeholders so that they are less prone to commit damage to your project. That is the instrumental dimension of stakeholder theory. And then you have a third dimension, that is the normative dimension. Now, the normative from norm, the normative dimension is the moral philosophical foundation of stakeholder theory. And what you see here on the left, this picture, is that of a very great German philosopher, Immanuel Kant. Some of you may have heard about him, who lived more than 200 years ago. And he had his idea of, how people should act towards other people, a sort of a moralistic, philosophical basis. And this stakeholder theory, the normative dimension of it, bases itself a lot on the work of Immanuel Kant, as well as that of an English philosopher, Jeremy Bentham, and his utilitarian approach. So these are, in the normative dimension, these are the two philosophers who are really referred to a lot in terms of stakeholder theory. Of course, issues under debate include determining who the stakeholders are and whether they should include non-human entities, the responsibilities of organizations towards their stakeholders, and whether a corporation should focus more on its shareholders or other stakeholder categories. So there's a question of, what's right? What's the right thing to do? Which stakeholders should one concentrate on? How should one deal in their approach to stakeholders? So this is basically what the normative dimension is about. It's about who and how one should deal with stakeholders. A lot of research has been done into this, and of course different researchers, different academics, they have got different views on the subject, how best to go about things. There are some researchers, neoclassicists, who are very strongly focused on the corporation, and that the corporation should not concern itself with, say, environmental issues or with social issues. There are some who vehemently oppose that. There are others who say, yes, the corporation, coming back to the corporation, which stakeholder theory always refers to, the corporation is an organization which is embedded in society. It's embedded in the environment, and therefore it has a responsibility, a moral responsibility to look after society as well as look after the environment, because it is using resources from society, it's using the environment, so therefore it should also give something back to it. So these are big threads of debate which are going on in stakeholder theory. And as I said, it's a whole subject in itself, a few very interesting articles on the subject, but I don't want to bore you too much with the details. So I think we should move on now a little bit and also see some other drivers. Before we do that, maybe if you're interested, then I would just like to point out there's some very good literature on the subject. A big collection of articles given over here in this book, Stakeholder Theory, Essential Readings in Ethical Leadership and Management. This is something which I would recommend everyone to read, and not only those who are studying stakeholder management and engagement. It's equally good for any type of manager. A lot of articles over here, 25 collected articles on the subject published in prestigious academic journals. So if you want to get some more information, you just click on the image here. You see that in a lot of the images which I have put in the slides, I have also embedded hyperlinks which will take you to websites where you can get information which you need. For those of you who are studying stakeholder management and engagement, this is one very good book over here, which I have also included in your course module. Stakeholders Theory and Practice by two British professors, Andrew Friedman and Samantha Miles. Again, if you click on the image over here, you will be getting some information about this book, which was published in 2005. These two professors, they have comprehensively and systematically discussed various stakeholder theories spanning a 20-year period. That is between 1984 and 1985, when stakeholder theory really picked up as a subject, thanks to the work of Professor Friedman, which I had also mentioned in one of my previous lectures. In these 20 years, so much writing has been done, and they have discussed, they have looked at, reviewed all the important contributions, and they have discussed it in this book. So it's really a gold mine of insight regarding stakeholder theory. And here, the most recent book, which was published in 2010, also written by Edward Freeman, the person who started it all, and some of his colleagues. So this most recent publication on the subject of stakeholder theory, this book looks, among other themes, at the evolution of stakeholder theory over the past 25 years, from the mid-80s to 2010, in several key application areas. You see, stakeholder theory it's not static, it has been developing like theories usually do, and a lot of new contributions, a lot of new ideas, a lot of new insights. And this is the most recent publication specifically on the subject. And if you want to get more details, just click on this book and you should be able to get it. Hopefully the link has not changed in the meantime, which is sometimes a problem with these links. Okay, so that was the one of the 9 drivers, stakeholder theory. Now I want to move on to a second driver, and that is awareness. Now, awareness of project stakeholders, awareness of the need to manage and engage project stakeholders. Well, how does this awareness come about? What are the precipitating factors? Well, there are many reasons why there is a heightened awareness of the need to manage and engage project stakeholders than there was, say, maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago. The world has moved on a lot since then. In terms of, specifically in terms of project stakeholders, there are a lot of factors which have contributed to this awareness. For example, education, training, documentation. Okay, good. As I pointed out, there are hardly any university degree courses specifically in stakeholder management and engagement, but implicitly, indirectly, there is a lot of understanding that there is a need to manage and engage stakeholders, even if the specifics of doing so are not very clear. But there is this education, training, also documentation dimension, documentation, especially on project by consultants and white papers and case studies and so forth. Over here, the second factor, which is driving awareness of the need to manage and engage project stakeholders, is project experience. As team members, as project managers, as consultants, as contractors, all these who are working on projects, through their experience, they have found out that it is so important to properly manage and engage your stakeholders. You ask anyone who's working on any substantive project, whether it's in the construction field, whether it's in the IT field, whether it's in the social development field, what is the probably the most important or the most challenging task, and they will tell you it's dealing with stakeholders. I've talked to so many people, practitioners and project practitioners. I've asked them, if you have to rank in order of importance, what are the biggest challenges which you are facing on projects? The usual answer I get is it's dealing with people, it's dealing with agencies, it's dealing with stakeholders. So there is this experience. This experience also gets passed along, and there's a greater diffusion of awareness about how important it is to manage and engage project stakeholders. The third factor, which is driving awareness, is this print and electronic media. They're writing about projects all the time. They're telling how projects are going, what are the problems, what are the issues, what are the requirements, and more often than not, you find always these references to stakeholders and how difficult it is to manage stakeholders, how important it is to manage stakeholders, etc., etc., etc. So the print and the electronic media also is contributing a lot to this awareness. And of course, information and communication technology has really changed the way we are doing things nowadays. A lot of information is exchanged through the technology. Also, projects information communication technology has become very important for projects like outsourcing, the virtual context, new technologies for communication, video conferencing, and so forth. And all this also has contributed, a lot to an understanding that, to an awareness that how important it is to properly manage information flows, to timely and to properly communicate information to stakeholders, and what are the consequences, potential consequences, if these are not properly done. So there is this, all over this awareness is increasing about project stakeholders and what one has to do, and this awareness is being driven on by many factors, of which these are just 4 which I have picked out. Well, if you continue talking about awareness, what are the sources of knowledge and information about project stakeholders? Well, as I pointed out, some books have been written, not many, some books. Also a lot of chapters in books which are not specifically about stakeholders, but which include a chapter or two on stakeholders. A lot of articles in research journals, many hundreds. Theses, master theses and doctoral theses, I've seen quite a number of them which are specifically about stakeholders. Publications by organizations such as, for example, development financing institutions like World Bank and Asian Development Bank and African Development Bank and so forth. Development implementing agencies like USAID and CEDA and DFID and GIZ and etc. UN agencies, of which there are a large number. Non-governmental organizations, of which there is a huge number. Corporations to government agencies, research institutes, consultants, all of these have collectively brought out thousands of publications which are directly or to a large extent indirectly discussing stakeholders. And because of the nature of these organizations, a lot of their work is really project or program-based work. So the publications which they are bringing out relating to their projects and programs, they have a lot of insight, or they provide a lot of insights specifically into the stakeholder aspects. Actual documentation from projects, project plans. If you look at a lot of project plans, you will find that there is a whole chapter on stakeholder management and engagement, in lessons learned, and completion reports, etc. You will find that there are a lot of references to stakeholders and how important it has been to deal with stakeholders. Internet websites, I will go over these in this lesson. There are a large number of internet websites, a few of them dealing specifically with stakeholders, but many of them specifically about project management, but with a lot of information on the area of project stakeholder management and engagement. Newspapers and magazines, as you have seen when you pick up the daily newspaper, you read an article, you'll hear about projects, you'll read about projects, and then you'll also read about the issues with certain stakeholders on those projects. TV, conventional and web-based TV, I had pointed out in the previous lecture that a lot of documentaries have been made. These are very popular documentaries about projects and big projects. And of course, when you go through these documentaries, when you watch these documentaries, then you will see also that a lot of it is showing directly the interaction which is taking place between various stakeholders like contractors and architects and owners, and the challenges which come up, the opportunities also which come up. CDs and DVDs. There's also a lot of knowledge on stakeholder management in CDs and DVDs. There are even some training CDs which are specifically on project management and even on stakeholder management. So you can see here, if you add up all these from books, chapters, articles, theses, publications, case studies, white papers, reports, documents, plans, etc., 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 huge amount of information on project stakeholders, and from which you can clearly gauge the importance of managing and engaging those project stakeholders. When you talk about awareness, there is also, I would like to refer to a degree program. That is the Erasmus University School of Management in Rotterdam in Netherlands. It's a very prestigious European business school. And this business school is the only institution in the world known to offer an advanced degree in stakeholder management. That is the MSc in Business Administration with specialization in global business and stakeholder management. So, of course, stakeholder management practices and issues are the focus of the teaching and research. And here, if you click on this, you can see here the building of the school. And if you click on this, here's a statue of the Dutch humanist Erasmus from the 16th century. He was living in the 16th century, about 500 years ago. And here is some of the courses which are being offered. You can see over here reputation management. You know, reputation is very important, image and reputation in stakeholder management, corporate governance, business ethics, issue management, employee communication. So it's not specifically about projects and programs, but all the courses which are covered here, they can be applied in the context of projects and programs. Several universities are offering courses or workshops specifically on stakeholder management and engagement, although many of them are not really full-fledged courses. Most project management degree programs include core and/or elective courses on project human resource and team management. Now, I pointed out in one of the previous classes that project human resource management, human resources and teams, they are stakeholders, and we have seen that. So all those degree programs, which are having these courses on human resource and team management, and there are a large number of them, they are also to some extent teaching stakeholder management, although these are only two types of stakeholders when there are a very large number of stakeholders, but at least they are covering something. Again, if you click on some of these over here, I've given University of Arizona twice because they're two different courses. You can get some information on a few of the courses which are being offered specifically on stakeholder management, engagement at these particular universities. Tacit sources of information and knowledge on project stakeholder management and engagement. Well, I've just been referring to a lot of information which is available in print form, on paper, or on websites which you can read on your screen. But a large portion of knowledge about project stakeholder management and engagement, it usually doesn't find its way into the screen, it doesn't find its way on paper. Actually, it stays up here in people's minds. It stays in the minds of project managers, it stays in the mind of project planners, of team members, of associates and partners, etc., etc., etc. So this is a very important source of knowledge which unfortunately cannot be disseminated on a very wide basis, but which is very important and which we should also be mindful of. And that's why it's never a bad idea in project stakeholder management and engagement always to consult your colleagues, to consult your superiors, to consult your subordinates, because they might be having some specific insights, some specific ideas on how to manage and engage project stakeholders, which you might not know about, or which might not be documented anywhere, and which might be very effective, also very efficient. So that's why always good to keep an open mind and to consult others, to communicate with others. There is a very good publication here, published in Switzerland. There is an organization called NetLIPS. NetLIPS stands for Network for Knowledge Dissemination on the Management and Organization of Large Infrastructure Projects in Europe. Now, this is actually it's a consortium of 8 organizations from 5 European Union states. They came out with this very good book here, which was sent to me a couple of years ago from someone I know in Switzerland. And this publication, which came out in 2008, analyzed 15 large transportation projects in Europe, highlighting the lessons learned from their planning and execution. And if you go through this book over here and these 15 large European transportation projects, then you will find that stakeholder management is seen as very important. Among the main findings, and I'm taking here a quote from page 45 of this book, stakeholder management in a project is critical. The need for continuing the dialogue with stakeholders at a meaningful level once consents are given for construction has, however, been rarely appreciated. Rarely appreciated, seldom appreciated. Sustaining the relationships and measuring the effectiveness of communication with stakeholders can yield strong benefits for a disproportionately low amount of time and expenditure. So clearly the experience of these large 15 transportation projects in Europe highlighting the need for stakeholder management, saying that they are not given due consideration, but that if you invest some time and if you invest some money in managing and engaging your project stakeholders, then you have benefits which far outweigh your investments. In other words, it's so important to properly manage and engage your stakeholders. Also, on page 73 of this book, the essential lesson learned in the NetLibs project is that dialogue, communication, and cooperation are as useful as focusing on technique, contracts, and other internal concerns. When comparing the NetLibs projects, it seems that those projects which dealt with stakeholders on an ad hoc basis, that is, come and go basis, whenever they see fit, experienced far more problems with their stakeholders than those projects which developed a stakeholder strategy early on in the project. So here again, lessons learned from these large infrastructure projects is that if you, right from the beginning, have a proper stakeholder management and engagement strategy, then you are more likely to be successful. You will experience less problems, less issues, less challenges than you would if you do not have such a strategy, that if you just deal with stakeholders on a ad hoc, as-come basis. Okay, there's no issue. Okay, no stakeholder management. Okay, there's a problem. Okay, we will respond. It's like sort of when there's a fire, you run to put out the fire. You take a bucket and you throw water on the fire. But if you have a proactive strategy early on in the project, that means you're already trying to prevent fires from breaking out, which is a much better, much more effective, and also much more efficient way of doing things. Success factors in managing information communication technology projects. Okay, here I just want to go back to some project performance surveys which were conducted to show you the importance of project stakeholder management and engagement. These are success factors in the CHAOS study. CHAOS is a sort of a review of ICT projects. It's a sort of it's an organization which is reviewing ICT projects and finds out how the projects are going, what are the success factors and so forth. Now the CHAOS success factors list the factors in order of priority from 1 to 10 which contribute towards the success of ICT projects according to the Standish Group's research based on a sample of information and communication technology projects undertaken in government and commercial organizations, mainly in the United States of America. So project performance review of many ICT projects undertaken by the Standish Group, which is a very renowned consultancy. They have got this CHAOS success factors, what they call them. And you can see here the success factors based on the sample of the projects. The highest priority factor is user involvement. In order for these ICT projects to be successful, it was determined most important is user involvement. Now, who are the users who are going to be using that software? They're stakeholders. And if you involve them in the planning of the project, in the execution of the project, in the conception of the project, well, then your project is more likely to be successful. So that was ranked as the topmost priority factor. Second most important factor, executive support. I talked about executives in a preceding, one of the preceding lectures, senior management, executives. Executive support. Without executive support, more often than not, your ICT project is not going to be successful. It's not going to kick off the ground. Resources might not be given. It might be terminated earlier. People are demotivated because if the top people are not supportive, then why should people working on a project be supportive of it? So you can see over here that these two top-rated factors for the success of project are clearly stakeholder-related factors, users and executives. Another survey over here, a survey which was conducted of 2 project manager groups. I've taken this out from an Australian book. Well, a survey of 2 project manager groups, the so-called excellent project managers. Excellent project managers are those whose projects are almost always successful, and those ranking by other project managers whose projects are not always successful. So these are the very competent project managers, and these are the average project managers. Now, it was looked at what are the most important factors here for project success. Now, if you look at these red ones over here, To develop good relations with the major stakeholders, clients, users, suppliers. Now the excellent project managers, the group of excellent project managers, they have ranked this on 10th position. To develop good relations with the major stakeholders, clients, users, suppliers. The average project managers, who are not as good as the excellent project managers, they have ranked it on the 14th position. So the excellent project managers have given the stakeholder relationship aspect have given it a higher level of importance for the success of projects. Here, to be conscious of the political aspects, to know the major players and their interests, and to be able to work with them. It's again clearly stakeholder related. The major players, their interests, political aspects, they're all stakeholder related. The excellent project managers have given this 4th position, means they consider this the 4th most important priority. The average project managers, they have given this the 21st position, means they don't rank it as very high. But the excellent ones, those whose projects are usually very successful, have ranked this on the 4th. And then if we continue, to be persuasive in order to overcome obstacles and obtain support. To be persuasive, it's a soft skill. Overcome obstacles, obtain support. You know, sort of building up relationships also. This is again all stakeholder, clearly stakeholder related. The excellent project managers have ranked this on 14th position. The average project managers have ranked this on 23rd position. Now look at this one over here, to have a sound technical knowledge. Now that is your degrees, that is you know, your sort of technical skills and your calculation abilities and so forth. To have a sound technical knowledge, the excellent project managers have put this on the 21st position. The average project managers have put this on the 1st position. So you can see here the difference. One group of project managers, average, have put this on the 1st position. The excellent project managers, the other group, have ranked this only on the 21st position. So you can clearly see the difference in how stakeholders are perceived, the awareness also of stakeholders. Here, stakeholders are given by excellent project managers, stakeholder management and relationship are given, and engagement is given a much higher ranking than by average project managers. And unfortunately, what we have in Pakistan and in many other places also is this tendency to focus only on the technical knowledge, while we are really ignoring the cruciality of managing and engaging our stakeholders. It's another interesting book over here by Australian Dr. Linda Bourne, who has also written her PhD on project stakeholder management, stakeholder relationship management, a maturity model for organizational implementation. She is one of the world's top experts on stakeholder management and engagement. This book, which is also in my collection, 2010, provides guidance for organizations seeking to put their stakeholder management and engagement on a professional and systematic footing. If you click on this book, you will be able to access the details about it. So in case you're interested in buying it, it's not a difficult reading. She writes quite well, uses a lot of illustrations. This is something which I could recommend to you. Some other good books over here. This one from 2009 contains 45 case studies on stakeholder relationship management approaches by various organizations from a public relations perspective. So if you want to get some information on this book, you just have to click on it. Hopefully the web link has not changed in the meantime. Applied Public Relations, Cases in Stakeholder Management. And over here, you have a very large number of books which are directly or indirectly related to project stakeholder and communication management. Here, this is the most important book at the moment, Construction Stakeholder Management, which was also published about 2 years ago. Also in my collection, it's a collection of articles, very well written. Collaborative Relationships in Construction, Causation and Delay in Construction Disputes between Stakeholders. This one over here, The Practice of Construction Management, Successful Partnering, Construction Partnering and Integrated Team Working, early contractor involvement in building procurement, profitable partnering for lean construction, project partnering for the design and construction industry, the management of complex projects, a relationship approach. So you have a wealth of material over here, all of which directly, indirectly concerning project stakeholders, specifically with regard to the construction industry. And if you click on each of these images, it will take you to the information specifically about that book. And if you want to buy them, okay, it's not going to be cheap. You really have to be dedicated to project stakeholder management and engagement. But these are things, you know, if you want to get some real good detailed insight from practitioners' perspective, these are the books which you should be reading. And another one over here, a very good case study, Heathrow Airport, Terminal 5, History in the Making. There's also a lot of information relating to stakeholders over here. It was quite a big challenge to make Terminal 5, but you know, this is maybe something which you would like to have a look at. From the IT, information communication technology perspective, this is an excellent book here, Managing Stakeholders in Software Development Projects. Not that many books on IT stakeholder management. There is another one also I have, but this is a very good one. Here, for urban design and planning, Open Design, a stakeholder-oriented approach in architecture, urban planning and project management. This is one published from the Netherlands, from a Dutch university. Designing Public Consensus, the civic theater of community participation for architects, landscape architects, planners and urban designers. And here, this is a German language book, Stadtplanung und Stakeholder, city planning or urban planning and stakeholders, managing the flow. This is a collection of case studies from different European cities, from Holland, from Germany, from Austria, from Switzerland, and you know, like when big new construction schemes were ongoing, or the harbor was being redesigned, or the inner cities were being redesigned, then all about stakeholders and what kind of stakeholders there were and how they were sort of brought into the planning process. Conflict prevention in project management, strategies, methods, checklists and case studies. You know, conflicts are inevitable on projects. You will always have them, sometimes minor conflicts, sometimes major conflicts. Sometimes conflicts can escalate into crises. While conflict can often be useful in the sense that, you know, when there's a conflict, it brings, you know, different perspectives out in the open, and these perspectives, they can then be analyzed and they can be assessed, and then one can see whether maybe there's a better way of doing things than has been done in the, so far. So conflict can be useful at times, provided it doesn't get out of hand. And in this case, if it does get out of hand, it can cause some serious problems for stakeholders. So this book, which was published in 2008, looks at preventative as well as reactive conflict handling mechanisms. Preventative, how to prevent conflict, and reactive, it also looks at, okay, after conflict has occurred, what can you do to de-escalate that conflict on international technical projects from the clients and contractors' perspective. So if you're into these types of projects, or you will be into these types of projects later on, this can make very good reading for you. For natural resource management, there is a very good book here, Stakeholder Dialogues in Natural Resources Management. This book is from 2006. You can see all these publications, they're only very recent, you know, from the, well after 2000, in the last 5 or 6 years, as I had pointed out earlier. And this is because it's really in this last 5 or 6 years that this interest in stakeholder management and engagement has picked up. And this book contains 12 articles and case studies from around the world on stakeholder dialogues and participation in natural resource management. It's an excellent reference work on the subject area, which is becoming more relevant with time. Again, if you click on this image here, then you will find a number of book details. This is, by the way, we're all still talking about awareness, and we'll be also moving on in the next lecture to the other drivers. Anyway, academic dissertations, There have been many dissertations at the master and doctoral level, as I pointed out, which have been written on the subject of stakeholder management and engagement in connection with projects. Example is a doctoral dissertation which is in German here, published in 2008 by Johanna Gerum, this lady over here, from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, Switzerland. It was specifically on stakeholder management in project developing organizations in the construction industry. Again, we come back to construction, and if you click on this link over here, it will take you then to the website and another collection over here, a database. Resources on the internet. I pointed out that there are a very large number of project management websites specifically about project management, and these websites, they provide a wealth of information not only on project management but also a lot of them on stakeholder management and engagement on projects. And what we can do is maybe we can look at a few of the websites over here and see what kind of information we can get. I just hope that the links have not changed in the meantime. Let's see over here. All right. Yes, okay, this is Australian website. You can see over here, AU, Australia. This is also which Dr. Linda Bourne, that lady who has written a doctoral thesis on project stakeholder management. She's also very closely involved with this here. And you can see here published, these are some of the links over here, published papers, books and standards, techniques, tools, updates, and yeah, you can see over here stakeholder management homepage. Let us click on this. Yeah. Stakeholder circle methodology and tool set. This is a software, by the way, also which we'll be looking at in a subsequent class. And you can see here it gives you a lot of information on this software over here. If you want to learn more about the software, you can also visit its website. What I just want to look at over here are some of the other links. For example, workshops. I pointed out that there are a lot of workshops on stakeholder management and engagement. Well, here you have it, Stakeholder Management Techniques Workshop. Communication and Stakeholder Management Workshop. This is 2 days, this is 1 day. And a lot of links you can see over here. If you want to buy this, here, this is the book which I was just showing you. If you want to see these, you can buy some things over here. Stakeholder Worksheet with embedded macros, designed for projects and programs. Stakeholders on a page. This is how it would look like. This is one of the tools which one can use to manage and engage your stakeholders, to collect information about them. Communication plan is given over here. This book is given over here. And here, stakeholder management papers and resources. Now look at all the white papers over here. Stakeholder cycle, leadership, win-win negotiations, essential for effective stakeholder engagement. Motivation, motivating stakeholders and team members, project managers, this is senior management, the top executives. Communication theory, the innate effect of bias on relationship and communication, managing meetings. Meetings, you know, where you have all the stakeholders and they also have to be managed. Selected stakeholder management papers. And by the way, you can download all of these and, you know, read them. Here. 7.5 tips for managing internal stakeholders, engaging stakeholders for maximum effect, a typology of operational approaches for stakeholder analysis and engagement, the accidental project manager, achieving a successful engagement, identifying, mapping, prioritizing a project stakeholder community is only the beginning. Projects will only be considered successful when their key stakeholders acknowledge they are success. It's a kind of a new perception of project success. Traditionally, projects have been viewed successful if they meet their cost objective, their schedule objective, their scope objective. Newer perceptions of project success also include the stakeholders' satisfaction level. This requires the project team to effectively engage with each of its key stakeholders to understand and manage their expectations, and then deliver the project to meet or exceed the managed expectations. Stakeholder expectations are never fixed. Effective communication can help change perceptions and expectations to make them realistic and achievable. It also follows from what I had said in an earlier lecture, that stakeholders are dynamic. They can change their opinions. They can be, say, supporting your project today, they can be opposing it tomorrow, and vice versa. Their perceptions can change based on the information which comes. Information comes through communication as a medium. All these articles are over here. You can see here. Developing Stakeholder Management Maturity in a Traditional Business, International Case Study, from Commander to Sponsor. It goes on here. Influence Stakeholder Mapping, Visualization. Mega projects, mega problems. The critical need for effective stakeholder management. Effective stakeholder management is mandatory for mega project success in all advanced economies and in most emerging economies. Effective stakeholder management encompasses the project team, the project supply chain, this is the procurement, the vendors, the suppliers, and external to the project, politicians, the public, what we talked about, local community, general public, and the media, as well as people directly or indirectly impacted by the work or its outcomes. That is, after the project has been completed, the outcomes by the work is when the project is under execution. Tools developed to assist in this process will be discussed within the framework of managing mega construction projects to optimize stakeholder relationships in and around the project and minimize risk exposures. Motivate your manager, and so forth and so forth. Stakeholder engagement is free. Something new to me. The zero cost of stakeholder relationship management. The concept discussed in this paper is based on the philosophy of the quality movement, that quality is free. If you've studied TQM, Total Quality Management. Investment in stakeholders is balanced by reduction in failure dollars of fixing the issues caused by poor stakeholder relationship management. Follows on from what I said, that if you invest some of your time, some of your money, some of your creative energy in managing and engaging your project stakeholders, then the return which you get is much more usually than the investment which you have incurred. In this sense, you could say that it is basically free. So it goes on and on. Stakeholder engagement, practical insights for advanced project or program management offers, and so forth and so forth. Look at all the wealth of articles which is given over here. Now, if one goes back to our slide, this is just one website, and you have seen what a vast repository of information is given over there. Now let us go on to some other places over here. We still have some time. Let's look at this here, the Project Management Hut. Okay, yeah, this is the website over here, and what you can do, just given here stakeholder, type here in the search field stakeholder. Let's see what it comes up with. Yeah. You can see over here, PMBOK guide changes, inclusion of stakeholder management. You can see some over here. Why stakeholder management and mapping is key to successful project management. Project management problems, it's those stakeholders. How to uncomplicate your project, how not to manage your project, that is, not properly manage your stakeholders. So on, and it goes on and on. Some various articles which are collected here on project stakeholders. If you want to be more specific, you can see here project stakeholder management articles, the PMO as sponsor, manage your stakeholders, manage your life, how to communicate tough strategic decisions to your stakeholders, who owns project management in your company, bacon and eggs, commitment versus involvement, and so forth. If you look at some other ones over here, PM Forum, let's go to that. It's a good thing that all these links are working so far. Well, that has changed. Spoke too soon. Let us have a look, say, at projectconnections.com. So what have we got over here? And we can again, yeah, you can see this website. Yeah, this again, it's probably a lot of information is given over here. Let us, I'm not a member, so I can't click in the password section. Let us give over here stakeholders. Always look up in the search box and see what the search box turns up. Yeah, okay. It has got here quite a number of articles. Oh, it's found 1,291 documents. Okay, they're not all about, specifically about stakeholders. Anything which contains the word stakeholder will come up, but the first documents usually are all about stakeholders. Why is stakeholder analysis important? Stakeholder analysis summary table. How do I know who my stakeholders are? What is the right way to deliver requirements-related communications? Various blogs. I have two business stakeholders who have conflicting requirements. Now, how to go about that? You know, if you want to gain some insight, then you would have to look up this link over here. How do I help manage multiple stakeholders and their priorities on large project teams? I mean, these are all things which you later on, when you are working on projects, you're working on programs, these are the kinds of sort of challenges, the kinds of issues which you may be facing. So it's very useful to go and look up these articles, because they are basically written by practitioners who have been through these situations here. How can I help the business stakeholders organize their requirements? How can I help the organization implement a new solution? Getting a grip on the anti-project team, etc. And so forth, and so forth. So you see, it's really, if you go around, if you look around, and these are, it's just a sampling of websites which I have taken because I thought they were, quite useful. You can get a lot of information specifically relating to stakeholders from these websites. You can see that there is a vast quantity of information is available. It's not that you have to dig around and look, oh, where do I find information on project stakeholder management and engagement? I can't find anything. You can see it's all basically at your fingertips. You just have to know where to look for it. And it's really the result of all these insights which are written mainly by practitioners and people who are accessing these websites, also mainly practitioners, that this awareness of project stakeholder management and engagement really has been diffusing. It's really been picking up, and people have become more and more aware of it. If you want to look at stakeholder management more from an academic perspective, more from a research type perspective, well, then there are a large number of digital databases which you can connect to. We here in Pakistani universities, we have the HEC Digital Library, which gives us access to tens of thousands of journals and e-books. It's really something which is, I think, a very big achievement. It's proven very useful because now, instead of running around from pillar to post, and looking for articles on our research areas and photocopying them and bringing them back and collecting and accumulating them, all what we have to do now is we just have to go into these digital databases and then we can find really what we are looking at simply by entering the relevant term in the search column. Like if you're looking for stakeholder management, if you're looking for stakeholder engagement, all you have to do is you just have to type in those keywords and then you will be getting all these hundreds, sometimes hundreds of articles which have been written specifically on this subject and which you can use for your research, which you can use for your learning and your insights. And over here I have got quite a large number of them, like for instance here Science Direct, and if you just click on it, it'll take you directly to the website. Wiley Interscience, Springer, which is from Germany, EBSCO, Oxford University, Cambridge University, this Eric here, Education Resources Information Center, Emerald of course, and JSTOR, all of these which are available on the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan's digital library. So if you want to look at that, you just click on those and it will take you over there. If you want to find master and doctoral dissertations specifically on stakeholder management and engagement, well, there are also databases which have collections of in electronic form collections of doctoral theses and master's theses, for example here from Canada, from the United Kingdom, and from other places. And again, all what you have to do is you just have to click on these links, and these links will open up the databases, and then you can access all the information which you require over there. Finally, I had talked about CDs and DVDs, and I pointed out that training material is also available on CDs and DVDs. There is one over here, CPT Planet, which offers a training CD on advanced project management training, building productive stakeholder relationships. And what this CD does is it uses simulation exercises. The course teaches how to classify stakeholders and determine their needs and expectations, create a formal communication plan, resolve conflicts with stakeholders, and control changes. Quality issues and concerns from a stakeholder perspective are also discussed. Now let me see if this link has changed, but if you just go into Google and type this in, CBT Planet Project Management, it'll come up with the latest link, and it will then give you the details of this training CD, which of course it might be a little bit pricey and you'll have to order it. It won't be available probably in the local market, but it's good in the sense that you can just put it into your computer, and then you can use these simulation exercises, and then it's actually a fun way of learning how you can classify your stakeholders and see what they want, what they expect, and how you're going to deal with them. I'll stop at this point over here. In this lecture, what we have done is we have started looking at the 9 drivers of project stakeholder management and engagement. And what I have done is I have gone over 2 drivers with you already. One is stakeholder theory, and the second one is the awareness dimension. Now, we have looked in great detail, especially at the awareness dimension, and here you can see that there is a lot of awareness, and there are a lot of factors which have precipitated awareness. So people now are becoming more mindful of the need for properly managing and engaging project stakeholders. Anyway, what I'm going to do in the next lecture is I'm going to continue with my discussion of the drivers. We still have got several to cover, and I'm quite optimistic that we will be able to do it in the next lecture. Quite a lot of information has been given to you today. So of course, expect you all to actually go and visit some of these websites which I have been showing over here. I expect you all to click on the links. I expect you all to read some of the documents which are given there. Mostly they're not very long documents. The white papers and the case studies and the internet links. Sometimes they're just a page, sometimes they're half a page, sometimes they're a few pages, sometimes they're a little bit longer. But if you really want to get some practical insight into stakeholder management and engagement, this is a very good place to start. This is where you can get everything, and it's practically at your fingertips. It's practically free of cost. If you have access to internet facility in your university or your local library, or even in your house or in your room, whatever, this is definitely an opportunity which should not be missed. Anyway, thank you very much for following me out today, and we will continue in the next lesson, which will be lesson number 12.